Hello YouTube. I have mail, and it is mail from Global Entry, and I finally received my Global Entry card, you guys. I am so official, so certified. Excuse my picture. So if you're a frequent flyer that goes outside of the US, I think Global Entry is for you. And if you don't know anything about Global Entry, I'm here to tell you guys what it is. So what is Global Entry? So Global Entry allows you to go through an express lane at customs when entering back into the US. If you're coming back into the US and you're going through customs, there's express lanes. That's Global Entry. So usually when you're going through customs and you're getting back into the US, it seems like you're just standing in line forever. At least like for me, like in most cases, I feel like we're always standing in line forever. And then there's these lanes on the side that are Global Entry. And so that's like your express lane to get through customs. So that's what Global Entry does for you. When you're accepted into Global Entry, you also do get the benefit of TSA PreCheck. And if you don't know what TSA PreCheck is basically the expedited lane at TSA when you're checking in to get to your gate. Okay, so Global Entry is for customs, and then TSA PreCheck is for TSA. But like I said, if you get Global Entry, you also do get the TSA PreCheck as part of the program. Now, here's the other cool thing that Global Entry also offers. So with Global Entry, you also, when you're coming back from Mexico into the US and you're going by land, you can register your vehicle online with Global Entry and you can go through the Sentry lane. The Sentry lane is, again, like an express lane to get back into the US through land. So when you're at the border, there's all these lanes available for just anyone to come up, but then there's these lanes on the side called Sentry, and you can go through there, and it's an express lane for land with your vehicle, your registered vehicle on Global Entry. And I wish I would have done more research on Global Entry like years ago, because I feel like for my dad that does drive or was driving to Mexico all the time and coming back up, I feel like he would have benefited from Global Entry. And like I said, I just wish I would have known about this a little bit more. It's something that I would have totally signed him up for, would I have known about this whole program. And so this little card, you guys, you only need this card to travel by land. You do not need this card to travel by airplane. You don't need to take it with you every time that you're stepping out of the country. You only need this if you're driving back into the US from Canada or Mexico, and you have a car you're bringing in and it's registered under your Global Entry portal. Okay, so now that I've covered all the Global Entry stuff and what it comes with and what the program is for, oh, let's talk about cost, because cost is just so great too. So you pay $100, and if you get accepted into the program, your application is good for 5 years, and then after the 5 years you do have to complete a renewal, which I think is another $100. So if you really do the math, you're only paying $20 per year for this 5-year service, and your entry into the US from any other country is expedited at customs and at TSA. So in my opinion, I'm saving a lot of time by not standing there in line. There's been so many instances where I'm like, okay, you know, after TSA or after customs, I'm gonna get food and then I'll just wait for my plane, but then the line takes forever, so I'm not even able to get food, or I'm rushing. I can't tell you guys how many times I think just in this last year we've had to run, like because customs took forever or because there was a long line at TSA. So it's been really nice to show up at TSA and just go to the express lane and get over so quick, and same at customs. Like the last time that I went through customs, we looked at the line and I was like, oh my gosh, we're gonna be there for like a solid like 30 to 40 minutes. And then I went through Global Entry and it was like 5 minutes. So I think it's worth it. You save so much time. You have more time for yourself at the airport. The airport is already a chaotic place to be. No matter how prepared you are, I feel like it's just still crazy. So the more time you can save at the airport, the better, in my opinion. I know a lot of you guys had questions on what's the difference between TSA and global entry. And literally the difference, you guys, is that with global entry, you get more perks versus just having TSA pre-check. Now, if you're a person that doesn't really fly out of the country and you just fly more nationwide, I recommend getting TSA. There's no need for you to get global entry. I don't remember the exact cost, but I'll put it right here for you guys. And with TSA pre-check, it's just TSA pre-check. So that's really like the big difference with TSA pre-check and global entry. I feel like a lot of my friends do travel back and forth to Mexico quite often, so I would suggest all of them do global entry. Now I want to talk about the application process because you guys might have questions on what is all requested from you. So let's chat about the application process. So I did take some screenshots as I was going through my application process. I did submit my application on October 25th. So here is the homepage where it tells you which program you want to select, which one you want to sign up for, and it gives you a little bit about information on each and one of the programs that they offer. I of course selected the global entry. Once I got started, I input up here, up where it has the phone number. Above that, it asks basic information like your full name, your date of birth, your address, and contact information. And then below that, it was just identifying who you are. You do have to prove that you are a citizen of the US, and for that I did use my passport. I don't recall off the top of my head what other documents you can provide, but I'll put them right here on the screen for you guys. So I went ahead and added my passport for both proof of citizenship and proof that I can enter into the United States because I have a US passport. They do also require a copy of your driver's license, so I went ahead and uploaded that. Now this next step, the vehicle info, this is only if you plan to drive back and forth from the US to like Canada or down to Mexico back and forth. So you can register a vehicle as you're filling out your application, but in my case, I don't plan to drive. If I were to in the future, maybe with my brother, then I would add this vehicle to my portal. And then that way, when I go through the Sentry lanes, it's already registered and you don't run into any hiccups because you do have to have the car registered before you travel. So the next two things, your address info and your employment info, they do ask for information going back 5 years. So you have to put in where you've lived in the past 5 years, all addresses, and then for your employment, you also have to put everywhere you've worked in the last 5 years. Travel history. It does also ask where you've been to in the last 5 years, and it's just by country, but it'll ask you to select and add in all the places you've been to in the last 5 years. There are some pretty basic background questions that they ask you. I thought it was going to be like a lot of intense questions, but it's very basic. Have you ever been convicted of a criminal offense? Have you ever been arrested? Have you ever received a waiver of inadmissibility to the US from a US government agency? Have you ever been found in violation of custom laws? Have you ever been found in violation of immigration laws? And so once you go through those steps, it'll have you review your information and then basically hit submit so it can get sent off and see if you're pre-approved. So once you've submitted your application, when you go back to your portal, it will show you that your application is pending. And so basically the step after your application, you have to wait for conditional approval. Once you receive conditional approval, and it'll say it on your portal and you'll get notified via email, but once you've been approved for conditional approval, you can then schedule an interview. The website itself will tell you where you can take this global interview. So I had originally scheduled my interview for it to be here in Portland, and it was going to be approximately a month after I had submitted my application. And then something came up that weekend that I chose not to do my interview and do what I had to do. And so I missed out on my interview. And so when I tried to reschedule, they didn't have availability until like next summer. So I was like, I need it before next summer. I don't know what I'll do next year. And with going to Mexico in December, I was hoping I would just have it sooner than later. So I rescheduled my appointment to go to Seattle this year in April and do the interview. But I had also read on the global entry page that you can do your interview upon entering the US from another country. So because I was in Mexico in December, when I returned from Mexico at customs, I asked one of the officers like, hey, I read I can do my global interview upon entering the US. Can I do my interview here? And this was in Houston. And so they pointed me where I could do the interview. And it's literally through the global entry lane. Like you don't have to go into a private office or into a different department. It's right there at customs through global entry. That's where you can do your interview. So I did my interview there. And that explains why I look so dead and beat in my card picture, because I just did not expect to have to take pictures then and there. And I also wasn't even sure if I was going to be able to do the interview there. I was just like, I have a 4-hour layover. Let me ask and let me just do my interview in case it takes like an hour long. I will say that I'm not 100% sure if every single airport does the global interviews as fast as they did mine, because we tried to do my friends upon entering back from Europe and they said that they didn't have enough time to do it, that she would have to wait like at least an hour. But my interview in Houston was super quick. They asked me for my name, my date of birth, I think they asked me for my social, and then they asked me if I've ever been convicted of a crime, if I've had any felonies or misdemeanors. And that was it. That's all they asked me. And then they said, okay, look at the camera, bam. And there was my picture. So it was a super, super quick interview. I don't have like a criminal background or anything, but I was freaking out like, oh my gosh. Oh yeah, and they take your fingerprints. So they take all 10 of your fingerprints. They take all 10 fingerprints then and there after you've done the questions. Sorry guys, my camera died, so I had to recharge, but we're back. I kid you not, like the next day, or no, not even the next day, like hours after I did my interview, like literally like 4 to 5 hours later, I received an email saying that I had been approved. And I just couldn't believe how quick I got the approval. I thought this was going to be like a 6-month process, especially with trying to do an interview. Like they're so booked out. So if I were you guys and you guys are trying to do the global entry application, make an appointment for the nearest airport near you. And if you travel outside of the US within that time that you're waiting for your interview, when you come back, try to do it when you get back. That way you go through the process a little faster than having to wait for that application interview. So I got approved within like hours of doing my global entry interview, and then got back home, and then like within a week they had shipped me my global entry card. But because I was in and out in December, I didn't see this till like a couple weeks ago, like 2 weeks ago. That was my process with global entry. For me, it was super quick, very seamless. It didn't require a lot of information. You guys saw what they asked for and what they required in the application. And I would recommend it for anybody that travels a lot, especially outside of the US. For us Mexicans, we're always going back down to Mexico. So I think it's worth it. And it's worth it for your parents, you guys. Like if you're Mexican and your parents are constantly traveling down to Mexico, maybe they don't know about it, but I would suggest you guys inform them about it, and I think it would be worth it. Our people just get older and they need help. So I would definitely recommend. I'm actually gonna see if my mom would be interested in it. She does have a 9-year-old, so I think that means that my little sister would also need to get it because she flies with her. So I think it'd be both of them. But I should look into like for kids, like if it's something that kids have to like go through as well. I would assume, right? Like anybody else would, but yeah, guys, this is my global entry interview video. I hope you guys found this video helpful. If you didn't know about global entry, TSA, the process, I hope you found this helpful. By the way, you guys, so my process took about 2 months, like under 2 months, and I did everything in those 2 months, received my card and everything. If you're traveling soon, I would get on it sooner than later because it does take time, especially with the interviews. But yeah, guys, hope you guys enjoyed. I will see you guys on my next video. Bye.